So we have Edith Gross with us, PhD Research and Public Policy. Sky has an extensive academic background in research in the social sciences, focusing on medicine, ethics, and technology. She held several high-level positions within the Israeli and Victorian governments. She will talk about career and life changes. Also, she would like you to have the camera on, so please, if you want to open cameras. Hello, Sky. We are honored to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. And thank you for chairing this session. So happy to be here. And thank you for everybody who joined. Nice to meet you. So I'm Sky. And congratulations to Codette, of course, for its 5 years anniversary. It's a wonderful endeavor, and I'm proud to be here. So as the title of my presentation suggests, I'm going to talk about career as stories. So we all have our own career. We're in different stages of our career, but we can look at career as just another story. So every story has twists and turns, some expected, some less expected. We have suspense, we have mystery. I would like to look today at the career story that is more a suspense story. So where things change, where you don't know where things are going. And to do that, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my own career, just a few points in my career. I'm not going to tell you all of my life, which would be very, very boring. But the point that I will try to make, and I hope you'll be with me on that, is that there is never a smooth progression in stories and in careers, definitely. Usually your career will go in a way that is not linear. And if you make them rich enough in experiences, and if you take advantage of the turns and the uncertainty that comes with that, you will have to turn each page with more curiosity, look forward to changes. Sure, you'll have some fears of missing out, because every time you choose one opportunity, that means that others you're not taking advantage of them. So you'll have fear of missing out, you'll have fears of the future, because uncertainty comes with a lot of fears about tomorrow. But if you keep an open mind to opportunities, I believe your story is going to be very, very interesting, and you just don't know where it's going to lead. So that will be my point. Now you can't see it from here because I'm in my living room, which is good with the title of today's talk. But I'm in my bedroom, and my living room is full with couch boxes. So all my stuff is organized because I'm moving to France next week. So right now I'm in Israel, and I'm making a move to Paris, where I'll be hopefully on Tuesday, if things don't change, if we talk about uncertainty. So really all my stuff is organized in boxes, and some of them are going with the kids, some of them are going to donations, a lot are being thrown away. But what I'm taking with me is 2 suitcases. So that's all I'm taking. I've been in Israel for 30 years, and I'm packing my life into 2 suitcases. Now, I want to talk about these suitcases because, yes, they are the physical suitcases, but I want to talk about the less literal suitcases. So really, there's nothing really very special about the story of somebody moving to another country. But I think there are 2 things that I would like to tell you about this transition. And these are points that I will take throughout my talk. And then you can forget my personal story. First of all, I have absolutely no idea where this journey is taking me. Professionally, I have absolutely no idea. And personally, I'm not even sure. In other words, complete uncertainty. But what I would like to do is call it suspense rather than uncertainty, like you would have in a story, because suspense creates curiosity, anticipation, and looking forward to the future, understanding that there are opportunities. And two, going back to the suitcases, I'm taking only 2 suitcases, but what they represent is something extremely important. So in one suitcases, I would put what could be related to your brain. So your knowledge, your experience, your skills, these are the things that you would put in this suitcase. Just like I'm doing. I'm taking with me my knowledge, my experience, and my skills that I've collected over the years. And in another suitcases, which I can call the suitcases of the heart, I'm taking my motivation, my inner strength, my character, and these are things that I'm sure you all have if you're part of this project. And something that is most important, my network of friends and colleagues who support me all along. And we talk a lot about networking and stuff. Networking is not just, people you got to know on LinkedIn or that you're saw in a conference and you approach. I think there are also deep networks with people that really changed your life and whose life you've changed. And these are so important. And they come along with me throughout my life where I've had a lot of changes. And I think you'll understand that better when I tell you the story a little bit more. So the point is, if you pack these suitcases and you remember they're with you all along, you can make any change in the world. And doesn't necessarily mean moving to a new country. It could mean moving to a new position, going to another field, learning to code a new language, anything. If you remember that you're packing these suitcases with experiences, and no experience is a waste of time, and you'll carry them throughout your life, and they'll make up your story. Now, my story is full of changes, and I've had interesting experience. Some of them I'm going to tell you about very shortly. But I know that you either have or will experience a lot of changes as well. How do I know that? Because even if we put aside the pandemic story, throughout the last decade, we know that people change career all the time. So once people would have one career path, and today people change careers throughout their life a few times. So they would make transition from one field to another. In your field, I mean, I guess in technology, it's even more important. You change, you have to learn all the time. You have to learn new fields, you have to learn new technologies. And as women, we've seen the workforce change throughout the last decade, more and more opening to women. Not enough, that's another story. But we see that there's a constant change. So really, the only constant is change. And that is what we have to embrace. And take our luggage with us and embrace change. So if you haven't experienced changes, I'm sure you will. And it is so important you do that with the right mindset, because that's what will make the difference. I can tell you a little bit about my story. Again, nothing really particular. I'm just using that to tell you, to bring a message to you. So I'm in Israel right now, but I was born in Paris, France. My parents are from Tunisia. They also moved from Tunisia to France. At some point when I grew up, my parents became more religious. So they became more related to their religion, which is Judaism. And they decided we would move to Israel. So when I was 11, we all moved to Israel, all my family. The thing is that, ironically, we brought with us a lot of French literature. So what I was doing throughout my adolescence, throughout the years that I was a teenager, was read a lot of stuff that is outside of religion. And slowly I came to lose faith. And at some point, I became kind of an outsider to my own family. So I was really an outsider to my family and an immigrant to Israel. And these are not happy experiences, but these are experiences that are in my suitcases. These experiences helped me become, for example, a better anthropologist. So I did a PhD in anthropology, which will take me to my academic career. But being a better anthropologist means understanding other people that are different than you and people that are like you. And this particular experience helped me really, I think, understand people better. So this is a thing that was in my suitcase, changes, things that weren't expected, and that helped me so much and really worth more than gold. So yeah, I'm jumping to my academic career. So I've done a lot of studies. And why did I go to academia? Well, I didn't mean to go to academia. What I wanted to do was to be an organizational psychologist. So I studied business and sociology, anthropology, which was kind of the way to go. But then at some point, I think in the end of my first year, there was one professor who liked what I wrote, who liked my paper, and he asked me to be his research assistant. And from then on, I kind of moved from one researcher to another, and I've worked with amazing people. And I was kind of in the process, and I realized that, yeah, I do have a lot of analytical skills, and I really enjoy that. So I put aside the thing about being an organizational psychologist, and I decided I'm going to be a researcher. By the way, this person, this mentor who took me by his hand and helped me, is still a friend of mine, and we're still in contact. So again, it is so important to have deep networking. So people that really are part of your life and you take them with you. So they're not physically in your suitcase, of course, that would be a crime, but you take them with you as part of your luggage, what you have with you. And really, I'm really well surrounded because that is something that I cherish very much. But today I'm not in academia anymore. So I'm not a researcher anymore. But in my suitcase, in the suitcase where I talked about the brain, I have a business degree, I have a PhD, I have 4 postdocs, so 4 years of research after my doctorate, and a network of amazing scholars. I have 15 years of research experience, which is something that really is so important. So for instance, last year when I decided to learn Python and R, really my years of research experience helped me so much get into the data analysis. And I realized that even though that was the first time I was programming, everything I did really helped me. What also helped was the year I took to study in France and do my master's there. Why didn't I stay there? Again, the uncertainty and life changes. My husband at the time didn't fit in Paris. He didn't like the place. So I had a choice really to either come back to Israel and start a family or stay in Paris alone. The whole story, but I had only one evening to make the decision. And that's again, fear of missing out, FOMO, what would have happened if I made a different decision? So as you know, I'm back in Israel. So I went back with my husband, and that made my chances to progress in academia much slimmer, because we're a small country, and if you didn't have your degree in a large university abroad, you have very little chances. But what I did have, and again, they're not physically in my suitcase, was 2 amazing children. So I did come back to Israel. I continued doing my PhD, and I had 2 amazing children. These life changes, really, you can't tell, you can't know about them. But I embraced them, and I'm happy I did. So anyway, I came back to Israel, I got all the scholarships, I studied like crazy, I published paper, I went to conferences, the whole thing. And I was absolutely certain I was going to make it, even though I didn't study at a big university abroad. But it didn't happen. And I decided I couldn't stay anymore in academia, and I had to leave and find something else. It was really, really difficult to make that change, just like it was difficult to leave Paris all these years ago. But you know what? It turned out okay, in an unexpected way, of course. I soon found a position at the Ministry of Science and Technology here in Israel, and the high-level position that was really, really interesting. So what I did was I directed the section for social science and humanities. So I directed the funding for research in these fields for the whole country. And because in my suitcase I have this business degree, I can tell you that it helped me organize my work in a way that I had a lot more time to do things that were close to my heart as well, and do other projects. So I was able to make my work more efficient and have a lot more time to do things that I wanted that were extracurricular. One of them was really reinstate the National Council for the Advancement of Women in Science and Technology, which I was very happy to head and develop. And today it is very, very active. And I'm really happy that I did it. But again, my point is not that my career is specifically successful. It is that you tap into experience in an unexpected way, and that these skills will help you in a way that you cannot know ahead, but you need to keep an open mind to the way that will help you. So yeah, in government, I developed skills at a high level as well to understand policy, politics, patience, because moving things in government is not easy in any country. And then my next position, I can make a similar point, and I think we'll leave time for questions as well, so I'll go quickly. I didn't talk to you about my research in anthropology, but my research was around medicine all the time. So all of my field work I did in the hospitals, my work in history I did on the medical history. My postdocs were all in medical fields, so healthcare and so forth. That was really difficult because it was, again, very interdisciplinary, and I had to learn a lot, and it was a lot of effort. My PhD, I had two advisors, one from the medical school and one from sociology. So it was kind of in between. But again, I put that in my suitcase. So I was approached through LinkedIn by the Israel-Australia Chamber of Commerce. And after a long time of going through all the process, I was appointed to direct trade and investment between Israel and Victoria in the biomed field. So all of a sudden, yeah, I knew business, I knew research, I knew a lot about the biomedical world, and I could do that because I had everything in my suitcase. So leaving academia, I asked myself, what am I doing with a PhD in social science? It's not going to help. But eventually it did, and I did my BA in business, and I didn't know where I was going with it because I'm not a business person. But yeah, it helped me. And now, in a few days, I'm moving to France in a pandemic, and I don't know what lies ahead. But remember, I also had the experience of living in France as an adult. So again, something in my experience that I'm taking with me and that was going to help me. So I'm a bit scared, but I did experience immigration before, and I will use everything I have in my suitcases. Again, it may sound like a biography, but really biography are things you write when you look back. So usually as you go through life and you make changes and you go through career moves, you don't know how it's going to end. So, and you don't know what you're doing and how it's going to help you along the way. It doesn't necessarily make sense as you go along. But retrospectively, when you look at it, it may not be linear, but it does have a certain logic to it. So really, my advice would be accept the twists and turns. They're inevitable. And not only are they inevitable, they can be positive things. And if you're smart enough to take on all the experience and fill your suitcases with everything, you can take them everywhere and hang on to them, especially in times of uncertainty, like today with COVID and everything. And when you're young, especially uncertain, hang on to them, fill them, and you'll do great. So thank you for listening. And I'm happy to answer any question.
Yes, now we have a Q&A session where we want to reward some questions from you with a VIP pass at DevTalks Reimagine. So feel free to ask any question in the chat. and Sky will read your questions. We have a question. What are you most excited about and most afraid about when it comes to your move to Paris?
Well, excellent question. Since we're talking about careers, I won't say that the more scary thing is that my children who are 16 and 17 are staying here to finish high school and then going to join me. So I guess the more scary thing is being away from them and letting them know that they still have a mother, even though I'm in a different country. So that would be the most scary thing if we're not talking just about careers. If we're talking about career, it's just there is a chance I have a lot in my CV, but there is a chance I won't find the job that I want or the job that will put me forward. And that is something that I am scared of. But again, I'm open to opportunities. And the thing I'm excited about is exactly the same thing. Not knowing what's going to happen and knowing that probably interesting things will be in the way, even if not right away. There we have another question.
I have one.
Hi.
Sorry, Miruna has some technical problems, so I'm gonna read the questions. Irina, there is a question in chat, and after that I will come back to yours. So we have a question from Christina. What's your advice for silencing the FOMO related thoughts and go forward confidently with your choice?
So FOMO, the fear of missing out. Yeah, every step that you make, every decision that you make, you're deciding on one door you're opening and the other doors stay closed and you don't know what's going on there. And what can be the most overwhelming is when you have a lot of choices. And we all know the research in psychology where, when you have too many choices, you just freeze and you can't choose anything. So I always try to keep in mind that I'm only looking at a certain set of choices. So I won't think about everything I can do. I would think about just a number of things, 3 to 5 things that could be possible to do, the next steps, and then focus on them and decide on them. So 3 to 5. And then I understand that when I'm going to pick the one, I won't know what's going on with the other 4 to 2. I don't know what's going to, what could have happened. And just embrace them. Just embrace your choice. You don't know what could have happened in another way. You just don't. So yeah, narrow it down, and then when you make a decision, embrace it.
That is so true. Miruna, first Irina had a question that she wanted to ask, and then the ones from the chat.
Okay.
Irina,
Hi.
go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Irina. I'm 38. I work in IT. I'm also a volunteer with Codet, and I have some parrots in this room. I'm really sorry for that. I gotta go. My question revolves, obviously, as a 38-year-old woman, there are so many things that we do in life and changes in careers and diagonal moves and whatnot. And as a side effect of all of this, there's also, of course, disappointments and obstacles related to gender politics, personal strengths, and so on and so forth. It's complicated. What would you say has always pushed you forward when you were going through hard time to make a decision or an obstacle that maybe went against your personal values? Basically, we all have a mantra, we try. What is yours and what has gotten you through, hard times?
Thank you for that question, Irina. Yes, absolutely. So I guess there are 2 parts of your question. One, what gets me through rough times, and of course there are a lot of them. And it's interesting because people may look at my CV or may look at my LinkedIn profile and it looks like a story of somebody that has just jumped from one good job to another, but that's not at all how it happens. So there were a lot of letdown in between. And I would say that definitely my friends, my family, the network of people that I know I can trust. So of course there are a lot on the way, a lot of people on the way that have failed me, like we all have. But I know who are the people around me that I can trust, and I remain open to them, and I'm getting help from them when I need to. So I surround myself with good people. And in terms of what do I do when I get when I try to do something and I get resistance, politics, and so forth. So yeah, it is very challenging, and I've had to deal with a lot of politics when I wanted to move things forward, especially in the Ministry of Science. I just ask myself, what's the goal? And if my goal is to promote a certain thing, then I'll work toward that. And that's it. That's what I'm going to do. Always trying never to hurt anybody and never to step on anybody's toes. But yeah, stepping on somebody's toes, yes, but not cutting through. So I keep my principles. And yeah, it got me into trouble sometimes, keeping my principles. But at the end of the day, I could sleep very well at night.
Okay, we have 2 more questions. What advice would you give to your 25 years old self? One thing that should keep in mind each day.
Interesting question. So I would tell myself to be less afraid of uncertainty. I think that's what I came to tell you today, and to understand that things are not going to go the way I thought they were going to, and that's not a bad thing. That would be my advice to myself.
Okay, Sylvia has another message. I love your optimism and your perspective on making difficult decisions in life and own and make peace with the consequences. I will move to France soon, so I resonate with your talk and it helps with the anxiety of moving. What did you say to your younger self to assure her before making the tough decision of moving countries or moving careers? Do you follow your heart or your mind?
Well, excellent question. I would say both. I don't go into things just from my gut. Some people do. I don't, but I don't just trust my mind. I don't do tables of decisions on what I do. And again, it's very frustrating because you don't know what would have happened if you've made another choice. So whichever choice you're going to make, you'll just have to accept it. And it is challenging making the choice, but I think it's even more of a challenge to accept that choice once you've made it. So I'm happy to talk about my decision to move to France and what was involved in it and what I was thinking about, but maybe in a side talk. But in general, I would say that, yeah, exactly. It's a combination of your heart and your mind for me.
Thank you so much, Sky, for your presentation. It was inspiring. Now, can we take a pic? So
Sure.
just smile and Andrea will take a picture. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, now you have to choose 3 questions that were the best, or I don't know.
Well, it's difficult, first of all, because I don't exactly remember the questions, like in a sequence.
If you want to see them.
But I'll say, yeah, so asking about what I would tell my 25-year-old self, like what would be the best advice. And I think the question about the heart and the mind is a very good question. But they were all excellent questions, really. Made me think and made me more precise about what I do. And yeah, of course, the question about FOMO, which is a very important point. But I may have missed some. I mean, they were all very, very interesting questions.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, now please go to Discord on the announcement channel, where you will find the Zoom link for the next presentation. See you there, and thanks again, Sky, for everything.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye. Good luck to everybody.